coronavirus, due to some coronavirus kind of news. The move was fast, it was aggressive, and then it popped right back. So there was really good range yesterday. You know, you saw like a lot of stocks that like they popped hard at the open, and then they just totally rolled back over and, you know, dropped like 10 points. And then, you know, you got a little bit of a rebound, a little bit of chop the rest of the day. So you're starting to see a little bit more weakness today. I believe even today we had some PMI numbers and stuff like that. So it's adding a little bit of sell pressure. But like I've told you guys in the past, we want to see red days, red openings in the market. It allows you to kind of scoop things up and go for the shred. And what I mean by scoop things up, go for the shred, is like when you get like a weak open in the market, what you'll see is moves like this, like, you know, like something like this ZM where like you'll dip down $1 or $2 and then you'll just rip back. And you want to, that's why a weak open in the market is really good, because it allows you to get into names without having to like just chase the shit out of them. It ends up being an ideal scenario, especially when you get a market that's like really extended. You can see here in the pre-market, TVIX is up like 7-8%. You know, if this thing gets over, I would say the 20 SMA, you may even see like a little bit of a move to 47, 48. TVIX is a measure of volatility in the market. If the market starts to get smoked, you know, or just has even a pull back, what you'll start to see is, you know, this thing really ramps. So I think, you know, we've got ourselves, I think Fridays usually suck, but I believe today there's going to be some fun. So let's talk about just some of the different earnings plays, and we'll kind of get this thing going. So first of all, hold on here. Let me see here. Hold on, let me move these things. All right. So you can see, I mean, there's all sorts of little doo-ha's cooking and booking. Let's take a look at some of the faves here today. Dropbox. Dropbox is busting loose on some news here. Dropbox, sure, after a long-term operating margin raise, blah, 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 blah. The key thing on Dropbox is that, you know, you're starting to break out of this big range. When you get like earnings plays and they've been like stuck in a range for a long time, when they come out of that base, you know, you tend to get a little bit extra on the pop. What I mean is, like, if you're like trending for like 6 months and then you have earnings out, yeah, like that day could still be good. But when it's like on a stock that's dead, right, or a stock that's neglected, you can start to see some really nice pushes on this. Now, Dropbox is still a fairly recent issue. You know, it was just came out in 2018, so I would consider that still a new stock or an IPO. Overall, I think this one's got to be top of the list. You know, if this thing starts to ORB kind of around that 22 spot, I definitely will definitely take a little goose and a gander on this bad boy. DE's got this 180 break on it. If you look at the weekly chart on DE, you're really kind of like, if you get over 180, you're at all-time highs. It's not necessarily the fastest out of the names, but ends up being pretty good. I think this one's going to be a little bit more of a grinder, but these kind of grinders, they do. You got a 180 pusher. Yeah, we got 180 break on this thing. Hey, Castrata. Alright. Let's go. And you know, this FSR is busting down too, but there's a big hairy butt on this one. It's already starting to pop up hard off the pre-market low, so you got to be a little bit careful on this one. I usually, like, if I don't see, like, because if they ORB, like, right around here, they end up being a little bit tough. So I just be kind of, like, cognizant of this one. The ZS, you know what? This one could shred right at the open. If it gets under 55 and this 50 SMA, I think this one's going to have, you're going to have yourself a little pizza party on this one. Junk. And then I got OLED over here. Like, this thing is busting lows over here. You may see this thing get down into 60. The one issue I have with OLED on taking a short on this, you know, so you can see here, miss a street view, revenue, blah, 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 blah. Anytime you miss expectations, you know, you can get pummeled on these things. And not to mention, like, the market's already getting a little bit weak today. Something like this may work out. The issue I'm going to see on OLED is, I mean, frankly, it's going to have a spread on it. Usually when they have a spread, like, they just don't work right. So I would be, take it off the list, actually, for now. Take it off. We've got hotter names than that. Let's talk about TWST. I think this is going to be the hot one for today. You got IPO breakout. They even did their secondary yesterday at 28, and it's still ramped. That's what you want to see. You do a secondary and you still ramp, like, that's pretty hot. I want to definitely be shredding on this one. I like that one. SDGR's got a lot of heat too. Frankly, I don't like buying a day 4 gap up at all. I won't do it. But if you start to see this thing dump off at some point, you know, because it's going to be it's going to get faded off at some point in the next couple days. If you start to see it dump off, you start to get like a big dip, you know, 46, 47, something like that intraday. I will definitely look to potentially long this one. Guys, these IPO breakouts they're like so hot. Like, they've all these IPO stocks. First of all, I posted it in our Discord. There's a list, about 200 of them that I've been tracking. Check the general channel, the Discord. I posted maybe a week ago. Every single one on that list is like breaking out. Just throw 200 shares at some of them that are busting these highs. Like, you're starting to see like a whole shitload of these things just bust loose. Have a list. You can make it on TC2000. Have a list of IPO stocks that are busting out. I took the name, kind of narrowed it down into 200 that I really like. You can filter by like 90-day momentum if you need. But that's like, if you're a swinger or a day trader, you got to be focusing on these names. You can see like $10 to $50. Every single one that you can think of, like, they are busting loose. You got to have a good list of them. And frankly, if you're like trading in your IRA or 401k or something like that too, or just longer term swing accounts, these are the best names to put your money in right now. You know, every sector, every year things change, but right now, like, this is where things are going to go. So watch this SDGR, this is an IPO stock. There's a whole host of them. TWST is another one that looks pretty good. And man, I got like 10 of them over here. So we'll bust them loose we'll bust them loose later. And I think that this 35 mark on this TWST, watch this thing. It's going to be a hot one. Yeah, there's some work news. What the fuck? I didn't see what the news was, but I did see it starting to pop on the scanner. Yeah, work is a little bit of a grinder, but frankly, we can play that. I'd add that to the list for now. I think that one's going to be cleaner than some of these other ones. Like, see, this FSLR is just not that clean. Like, even ZS is really not that clean because it needs a break under 54. Otherwise, you're just going to have like it pop back into these support spots and bounce. FSLR, OLED. You know, space. I don't know if I want to short it just yet, but I do think if it kind of gets under this 33, 34, it's been trappy, but I think if we get the right spot, we can shred this thing short. Ideally, like a pop and a fail here, and then we can take this thing short for sure. And you know what? The range on this is pretty sick. It had a nice close, so sometimes it could very well get back to $42. I mean, it's too much range. Like I didn't take any trades in this yesterday because the range is almost too big. When the range gets too big, like your P&L just starts to fluctuate so much because like the range is, you could have like 200, 300 shares, right? And your like range will start to fluctuate. It's just not worth it, So I may stay away from this thing. The only way I'd get interested in this if it popped into 38, 39 and then it faded off, or like if you look at more like a 15-minute chart, you're starting to see like some trend line breaks. On a longer term basis, on a 15-minute chart, this is kind of like a head and shoulders pattern. So if you start to build under this trend line, we can take this thing short. But it's not an easy trade. Like there's no such thing as an easy trade on a stock that's like this wild. So my preference is like we have more than enough plays. Choose something slower and steady. As you guys know, if you screw up on a Friday, man, your life is in shambles. If your life is in shambles, you screw up on Friday. Next thing you know, your wife is nagging at you, your kids are calling you loser, and how are you supposed to survive the weekend? There's no football, anymore. There's no college football. There's no NFL. You got everybody nagging you. You lost a bunch of money on space. At that point, you got to just call it quits in life and just say, fuck myself. I quit, right? So let's try to stay away from this if we can. If I take it, it's going to be like 300, 500 shares. Normally, I do a few more of those, but we try not to screw up on Thursday. So that's the watch list for now. That's the watch list for now. Watch this thing at the open. If it does start to clear, you may get a short, but man, it is whippy. Like you can see this thing. You could see this thing just spike up at the open and then fail. You just don't know. HIIQ's okay. I would rather just play the EHTH. This one doesn't have the liquidity you need. Not to mention, there's just hotter names right now, but I do see the setup. Like you could. It's, it might move a little bit, but I don't know if it's like necessarily, it's one of those ones where the juice is worth the squeeze. Roku's probably due for a bounce, but the earnings, I guess, must have been terrible. The price action, the short-term price action just says that it's getting dusted. If you see here, it goes green to red like every day. So for me, like, unless I saw a structural change in the tape that would indicate, that, hey, like things are turning around for this, I would just leave this probably alone. There's easier plays out there. Hey, Adam, what's going on? There's just easier plays out there. Pins is one of those weird ones. I think it's more of a swing trade. It's just not been a good day trader for the moment. Like the range stinks, and it's kind of like under all these spots. I think there's easier names out there, but the swing trade setup is there. You just gotta be kind of careful with it. Yes, guys, no gambling on Fridays. No gambling on Friday. Tesla's like space. I'm leaving this thing alone. Too much range. I don't want to trade too much. I want easy plays on Friday. Friday was the original Sabbath for my people. It's supposed to be a day of rest, and here we are. You guys are trying to get me into this Tesla. We're supposed to be friends. We're supposed to be friends here, looking out for each other. Now you're trying to get me into Tesla, trying to get me into space. Next thing you know, I'm gonna end up on the streets. Next thing you know, you're going to end up in your room, beating off, watching Netflix, smoking ciggies because you oversized on Tesla in the middle of the day. Never want to do it. Good. The daily chart NVIDIA needs a little bit of work. I think it's something worth watching, but it needs to marinate a little bit here. It's super extended. Work at an Uber contract. Cool. So, guys, let's keep this list short. Go in the Discord, dig up some of those IPO names I gave you last week. But, the faves are this NAT IPO, TWST, IPO, SDGR, IPO. These are going to be the names we trade, and then we've got these earnings plays. Out of these, I'd say Dropbox is semi-okay, DE semi-okay. I give these Bs. I give this one a B-. I give this one a C+ because it's got too much support underneath. This EHC's got a pretty low float on this. I'd give that a B-. The problem is that it's a $30 gap. FSY, I give that a C- too because you got too much support underneath. But if this thing does break under 21, 22, then we'll definitely take that thing short. I give that a B- because it's going to have a spread. And then this work looks nice. You know what work traded well the last time, they had this like IBM thing, remember? Where they had the IBM fake news. That was nice. We could come in and shred with that. Let's go and do that. That's the list. I'm sticking to it. Let's go and have some fun. Let's go and have some fun here and do what we got to do. We've got, man, we're done early today. Let's go shred today. Let's go have a little fun. I will be in the chat room till noon today. Then I'm going to go and get myself a haircut. No, I'm just kidding. I ain't going to get myself a haircut, but, we will have, I'm going to try to make this a half day. All right, man, let's go do what we do.